In this video, we're going to learn how to insert individuals into the software. At this point, you're probably starting with the software, or you've been handed off the software and you're trying to learn how to get started. Either way, this video is really going to help you with getting the basics down. Now, there are other ways of getting individuals into the system, one being an import. We'll cover that in a separate video, but on this video, we're going to cover using a manual insert. So I'm working in the individuals section, if you'll click on that. And I'm working in this video in the adult ministry zone. You might have a youth assistant product or a children's assistant product. In that case, you're going to be working in either the youth or the children's zone. And since you'll be working in those zones, that'll be where you insert your individuals into. But either way, this is going to be how you start. We'll click on the insert button. I'm in the individuals section, and this will open up the update individuals window. Now remember to choose the gender that's for the individual that you're inserting. Otherwise, you'll end up with John showing as the daughter in the household, and that's never any good. So next thing, ministry. This is where you choose which ministry zone you are going to insert this individual into. It defaults to the ministry zone that you are working in at that time. So since I'm working in adult ministry zone, that's going to be where the individual defaults to insert into. Otherwise, you can choose a pending zone, and the reason it's a pending zone is so you don't insert someone into another minister's zone without them knowing about it. It will give them an identifier letting them know that this person has been inserted into their zone. So you just choose those and it will put them into that section. For this case, I'm going to choose adult ministry. You can choose your different statuses if you wish. I'll keep it at member status. You can also customize these. We'll get into that later on in different videos with customizing the Inspire Youth Assistant and Children's Assistant softwares. And then just start inserting your information. I will jump in here and we'll insert a makeup person. We'll say it's Blaylock. Now, the generation is for someone that might be John Blaylock Sr., Jr. Preferred name is helpful if you're using preferred name, if it's turned on. I'll show you how to turn that on a little later. But John might be preferred. He might prefer being called Jonathan instead of just John. And in that case, you'd put Jonathan inside of preferred name. And when you have preferred name turned on, any mailings, labels, reports you print out, will use his preferred name instead. You can insert his birthday just manually, or you can choose the calendar and click on his name, and we'll take him back here. And click select. Insert an email address. We'll just do something like email@email.com. Now, one thing you might be wondering is what do we do for John, because he's an adult. He's not in school any longer. So what do I insert him as? We have this option down here at the very bottom called post-college. Sometimes people rename this as being NA or whichever renaming they would like. But in the software, it just defaults as post-college. This is not a promotable grade, which means when you promote everyone in your system to the next grade level, they're not going to promote out of this. So this is really intended for adults as their grade option. So you can choose that, and then I have an NA option chosen here for the schools so that I have just something to list there. You can then insert a picture for John if you'd like, just by clicking on the file icon. And from here, I have a whole list of pictures. This is in my Inspire folder under the individuals folder, and this is where you want to drop all your pictures into. Or if you want to drop the pictures in really quick, you can copy your pictures from a folder and then drop them into this window. But to choose a picture, all you need to do is just choose the name. We'll actually choose Josh here and click open. And of course, this isn't John's picture, but it gives you an idea to see how the picture gets attached to the record. Now, this information down here in the bottom, this is very important. This is the household information. This is what creates the family units inside of Inspire Youth Assistant and Children's Assistant. They all work the same way. You can click on the little magnifying glass toward the right side of the household box. This gives you a list of households that you have in your system. If you're starting new, you're not going to have any households in here. So what you're going to want to do is start inserting your household names. Now, we highly recommend that you name all your households as last name, comma, head of household. So in this case, Allison, comma, John, and Carol. And this keeps your households from duplicating. You don't want to have a long list of households, like you don't want to have 8 Johnson households. Otherwise, there would be no way of knowing which Johnson house belongs to which individual you're inserting to. So it creates this great deal of confusion. We have done this to eliminate that confusion from happening. So what you can do is click on Levi Bailey, for instance. I'll click on that and choose select. You can see that it automatically fills out the information. Now, the information that's already in here, this is for the household record of Levi Bailey. But in your case, if you are starting with the software and you don't have those households in there, we need to insert one. So what we'll do is we'll click on that insert button again. I'll go back and show you where that's at. Right here, the magnifying glass. Click on that. And then we'll just insert a new household by clicking on insert. And of course, we'll give it that last name. So it'd be the Blaylock. And then we'll do John. We'll say his wife is Susan. So now I have the Blaylock, John, and Susan household. We'll click OK. And then we'll click select. And now whatever information I put in here will be the information that is for the John and Susan Blaylock household. So I might go in and say that their phone number is and we'll give them an address. And fill out the rest of the information as you need. But if you need to insert more contacts, like perhaps a contact record for John for like a cell phone, you can click on more contacts and you can insert that information here. And I want to show you cell phone in particularly because if we insert the cell phone, we do have a text messaging feature that's available for cell phones. I'll show you in another video on actually how to use that text messaging feature. But all you do is you put in the cell phone number. So we'll say that maybe this is the cell phone number. And you choose the cell carrier. In this case, we'll just say that the cell carrier is Verizon. And then click OK. It puts a little cell phone icon next to it. That means it is available for text messaging. And we'll click close. You can also insert alternate addresses if you need, or you can clear the entire address by clicking on the clear address button. Now, over here on the left-hand side, this is an important area that you need to know about as well when inserting an individual. When you insert someone, either in the adult or in the college ministry zone, it defaults to check the parent adult household status. Now, if you're working in children's ministry or in youth ministry, it defaults to check the child ministry household status. Now, if you're inserting someone, let's say, for instance, that I was inserting one of John's children in the adult ministry zone, I would want to make sure that I chose child as their household status. But in John's case, we're going to just keep it with parent adult. That will create the correct household status categories for each one of the households. So it'll mark John as being a parent adult or a father to any children that I put in with that household as well. Now, these other options, these are for broken families. So you might have a child that lives with their mother, but and she is remarried, but that child is really the father's child. So you would check that, and it would create the step-brother, step-child categories automatically in the background for you. The same thing with mother's child. The other category is really intended for all the other type of situations you could run into. Maybe a older brother or sister is the official guardian, a grandparent, or like a foster home. Now, this option here in the bottom left, this individual does not belong to a household. This will actually remove all the household information. It does not create a household record for the individual, and it just gives them an individual address. I usually do not recommend doing this unless you are aware of what it actually does. going ahead and create a household. Even if you're inserting college students, create a household for them. That way everything will be consistent. But if you're working in perhaps like a college ministry zone and you have a lot of college students that come in and out and you really don't want to create a household for whatever reason, you can choose this option and it will not create the household or force you to create a household for that individual. So we've got our entire record created now. We have it marked as active. And so I can click on OK. This created the John Blaylock individual record for me. It has also created a household record of the Blaylock and John and Susan household. All this information here on the right side I can use to modify his record. I can also go to the household section and click on Blaylock, John and Susan. You can see that this is the household identifier that we just made. From here, I can insert individuals into the household as well. I can double click on this, and this is just doing it from the household side. And I can see that I've got John already in here in the adult ministry. I can click on Add Members and either search through members that are already in my database, or I can click on Insert and insert a person into this household from the household section. Notice that all this information here in the bottom part of the window is grayed out as far as the household, because it's actually saying that you're inserting this person into the household. I could go in and say that maybe John has a son, and the son's name is Brian. And we'll make sure to put Brian into the youth ministry pending zone. And we will give him a birth date. And mark him inside of a grade. We'll say that he belongs to South Middle School. If you have a picture, you can apply that. All this other information can remain the same. I want to make sure that mark him as a child since I am inserting him into another ministry zone, but I'm still working in the adult ministry. So I need to mark him as child and make sure that's done correctly. I then click OK. And it puts in Brian's individual record. I want to make sure I check that. Click OK. And you can see it marks Brian as the son of John. I can do the rest for the rest of the family. I can put in the wife, Susan, and then I can also say they had a daughter, put her in as well, and create this family unit. And each one of these records is being created inside the database. So if I go click OK to this, and I go over to the youth ministry zone, it's going to pop up a window. We can just imagine that I'm the youth minister now. That shows me that a new person has been inserted into my ministry zone, and I need to approve it, or I just want to know who that person is. So I can see that Brian is being included into my youth ministry zone. I then click OK. It says it's going to transfer them into my ministry zone. Click yes, and now it has put Brian into my ministry zone. There's Brian's name, and notice I'm in the youth ministry area of the software. And you can also click on the household section and see that John is his father. So it creates this whole background web of links for the family relationships that allows each minister to have what feels like their own database, but still be connected to the overall church database. And that's just a way of inserting individuals through the individual section and through the household section.